and today I'm going to talk about who the top 10 arena characters or combos are in the game. Now I'm also going to talk about the different metas that you'll be coming against. There's a different meta for end game, there's a different meta for mid game, and there's a different meta for the beginning game thanks to the time heist bundle. So I'm going to talk about that as well, because the characters are all pretty much the same. What they do change as you go through those different areas. There's definitely, when it comes to the end game, there's definitely people with Apocalypse, and then there's people without Apocalypse. That's just the way it is right now. Sorry. So without further ado, let's go take a look inside of who these characters are. Now the first characters I want to talk about are actually the first 5. I will call them speed manipulators. These speed manipulators are used throughout all the different scenarios. We'll start off with Loki. This is mostly more of a beginner type of a character who we're using. The reason being why we use Loki is because of his passive. Not only does he give 30% less resistance, so if you're in the beginning game and all of a sudden Darkhold comes up or Morgan Le Fay comes up, you might need this as well to help counter them with the Eternals, who of course are on this list. But the other thing he does on spawn, he fills speed bar by 15% for himself, but he also gives Mystic Controller allies 10% speed bar, Mystic Controller being Cersei. Allows her to go first before I'm working in like the Darkholds, knocking back that turn meter on them, allowing Icarus then to go. It also makes Cersei go first so that they're a little bit more beat up for Icarus, better chance of getting a double tap. So that's one of the reasons why you use him. The second character would be one of the ones who stays even in the meta into the end game, depending on what you're doing, but he's kind of dropping out, and that is Cable. Cable, it all comes down to his passive. You don't actually need him this big. I built him up bigger just because I wanted him to survive a little bit, because he does have some other abilities. But the big thing here is he just gives 5% speed bar to self and all allies on spawn, regardless of what they are, giving you that little bit more of a turn advantage again. The reason why I wanted him to live a little bit longer towards the end of before the Apocalypse meta is because if you used him and you were able to make him live, you can then have this little a primary target possession targets losing 50% speed bar. If you could actually get him to live and get to his special, that's why I kind of built him up a little bit higher. He's still useful, but he's gotten replaced with, well, one of the top characters in the game now, Kang, as we'll get to him later as well. Now next most popular speed meta character is Emma, probably one of the older characters on this list along with Cable. The big thing with her, of course, is the minus 10% speed to all enemies. She was so good and so useful, Apocalypse had to have it in his kit just to negate her. She's the only character who does this. But pre-Apocalypse, she is absolutely very meta. Whether you're in the beginning game, mid-game, or end-game, if you're not seeing an Apocalypse, you throw Emma in there to help slow him down and help take out those Darkholds, Stormholds, give yourself the speed advantage. It's in the old 99 Weaver meta, if you're in that, or if you're in the Eternal meta yet, depending on where you're at in the game again. And also, if you're just starting to, if your Arena Shard is just starting to enter the Apocalypse meta, or you only a couple people have Apocalypse, something like that, and you're one of them, putting Emma on defense with your Apocalypse means that they're going to have a very difficult time beating you without Apocalypse. So that's something to think about if you want to do that kind of a defense. If you're at that point in the game, it's kind of like a mid-game to end-game meta now, depending on where you're at, like I said. Another character who is still around in the earlier to mid-game meta is Hela. It's not so much because of what Hela does, it's because of the Greg. And when Greg dies, he takes away 10% health whenever he dies. Of all enemies by 10%. There you go, on death. And because of that, that 10% speed bar is actually greater than Emma, so you can help counteract an Emma in a mirror match. This is how the 99 meta came. If they had Emma, you put Hela in to help counter that, and this is how it happened. It was all because of him. Hela's still a great character elsewhere, of course, being with the Undying in war, can be used in Crucible, etc., etc. And finally, we come to probably one of the top characters in the game. Could he does have an argument for being one of the best character, and that's Kang. Kang is essentially a better version of Cable on offense, though, but Cable does do it on defense or offense, whereas Kang only does it on offense. He gives the 5% speed bar to all allies. He attacks all enemies. He does tons and tons of damage. He can get sped up if he's put on defense, if you get speed up. There's just a lot of good things about Kang. This is a character that's going to be around for a very long time because of what he can do and how much damage he can do. He can also help get past those nasty revives, because if you kill somebody with his ultimate, not only does it reduce speed bar, but characters killed by it can't be revived. It's unavoidable, can't be blocked. He has a lot in him that is going to make him stick around for quite a while. This could be the next Emma, to be honest with you. So those are all the speed characters that do speed manipulation of some sort that you're going to run into. Now, when we start talking about the earlier game, we have to talk about Icarus and Cersei. If you have bought the Time Heist bundle, Icarus and Cersei are definitely going to be used on offense. You can use them into the mid-game, even into the Spider Weaver comps. Once we get the Spider Weaver 2099 comps, more mid-game, I would call that now. And there's even some use of them in the end game, especially if it's like an Apocalypse 4 Horsemen type team. Very easy to use, but unfortunately in the end game, the Eternals are coming out because of some of the hybrids that we have done. Red Hulk's passive getting fixed has made the Dormammu variant essentially not make the Eternals work too well in the arena. Of course, they're still very useful elsewhere. And the Eternals all come down to the fact that the ultimate on Icarus, reducing speed bar by 25%. If we look at Cersei, her ultimate also reducing speed bar by 25%, and these two essentially go back to back. There's Cersei. They go back to back, and because of that, you're essentially reducing speed bar by 50%, giving you tremendous turn meter advantage. They're incredibly hard to kill. Clearing this, giving themselves death proofs, just getting more damage. I mean, they're absolutely ridiculous. Even though they're coming out of the arena meta, finally, a year and a half later, they are still quite useful. In the earlier game, like I said, eventually, once the early game, like the people with Time Heists like me, get to Darkhold, they will still be used to counter to Darkhold. Even once Stormhold becomes a thing in those earlier arenas, that will still be countered by the Eternals as well. And then next, after the Eternals, that we have to still talk about would be Weaver 99. Of course, 2099. Really overshadowed by Weaver, but he is great on spawn. If allied, this is the big thing with him, is he got that speed up on spawn if he's teamed up with Weaver. That's what made him go so fast, but we always forget about the flipping one random positive effect. This is what allowed me to easily destroy Apocalypse when he first came out. And then on top of that, then he's going to have 1000% extra focus when he finally does take his turn, in which he's flipping any buffs that remain. He gives speed bar to Weaver. This is still an incredible combo. In the pre-Apocalypse meta, they had to buff Apocalypse just to counter this combo. And of course, we can't talk about 99 without going back up to Weaver. Weaver, all around great character, still one of the best overall in the game. Whenever you see a Weaver, you must respect her and be ready to take her out quickly. Because, of course, the big thing is her getting the charges, which when she has charge, if you look in her passive, is, of course, where you get the ability, where she misses, but also when she is attacked or Tangled Web allies attacked, she gets an ability energy, plus she gets 10% speed bar, so if you attack her or 99, this is what's making Room 5 such a pain in the ass, because they made the Eternals count as Tangled Web inside that room, therefore there's more speed bar for her, plus the ability energy is why you gotta take her out quick. Now let's get more into some other characters that we have on this list that we need to talk about these characters. We still need to talk about Kestrel. Kestrel is more of a beginner to mid game again. There's situations which you use her, because once you start talking about that mid game, the mid game beginner could be using Hela. Anytime you see a summon, pretty much you want to bring in a Kestrel. Don't forget, she does still have this big hit here, where she still can, characters can't be revived. That's useful in Crucible, useful in Arena. Like I said, Kestrel, though, more of a mid-game, more of a beginner game Arena meta character still to this day. No real use for her in the end game right now. Now, moving on. Dormammu is still around, and mostly it would be more of a mid-game to end-game arena meta. Right now, of course, he is in the end-game arena meta with certain comps, mostly the Apocalypse, Red Hulk, Rogue, and usually Morgan Le Fay comp with Dormammu. No, he does not. Apocalypse does not get revives, but the other 3 Horsemen do. That's why people are putting him on the defense. It is an easier defense to beat, as long as you use this, like, you just bring in essentially Kang on your side in place of Dormammu, and you'll beat that team. Used to be able to be beaten by the Eternals variant, where you used Red Hulk, Rogue, Kang, and the Eternals. That was before Red Hulk got fixed with his interaction with Apocalypse. So keep that in mind now that it's a little bit harder to beat. It can be beaten with the Eternals, but it's definitely not a guarantee. Definitely go more of the Rogue, Red Hulk, Morgan Le Fay, Kang, Apocalypse route if you're facing a Dormammu Apocalypse combo. Of course, now we have to talk about the another speed character I forgot to mention, but one who has popped up in the offense, and I've seen him on defense, although that's a bad idea to put him on defense, and that's Nick Fury. The reason why you'd want to use him on offense is because of how he gets speed on spawn, and he can pass out that speed on spawn with this middle ability. If you're manually controlling him on offense, you can spread that out with the speed on spawn that he gets for himself. If you put him on defense, though, he is going to use this and summon. Most people are going to have this T4 now because he is part of the skill raid team. And you're going to have 3 shield agents. The reason why you don't want to put him on defense, yes, these shield agents will get taunt. The problem is there's only so many slots. One of them is going to go where you don't want them to go. Very easy to beat. You could also throw a Kestrel in here and just negate Nick Fury. Nick Fury does absolutely really not much on defense. If anything, he's going to stand there and eventually die. He's just taking up a slot for what you could have for a good character on defense. Don't put him on defense. You can use him on offense to get that speed advantage if you want. I haven't really had to use him in the arena, to be honest with you, but I can see people wanting to use him. If they don't have Kang, for instance, then it might make sense. Another character I really haven't talked about, Archangel. This is a very fringe character. If you're actually running Apocalypse in the 4 Horsemen, which is by far not the greatest defense, not the greatest offense, but it can be used on offense and can beat quite a few things, but not very easily half the time. You'd be better off replacing this guy with Kang. He is definitely the worst of the 4 Horsemen as far as when it comes to arena. He is great everywhere else, though. I don't want to discount Archangel too much, because he can be quite deadly at bigger levels if you allow him to be. But generally we can control the fight, and he'll be a non-factor. And of course, we have to talk about Apocalypse as we get into these top characters, I should say. Not really much of a top 10. And of course, when he came out, he was absolute shit. Now he's pretty good. He's actually in a good place. He's not too powerful, not too weak. I think he's right where he needs to be. Of course, it all comes down to his passive. This has, of course, being... This is just an anti-Emma call-out. This has nothing to do with turn meter rewind, which is why the Eternals are still useful against him. He spawns with Safeguard. Unless you're facing Apocalypse with a Safeguard, then neither Apocalypse gets a Safeguard. You do have to take into account what he's going to do when he drops below 50%. His counterattacks, all that stuff has to be taken into account. The 100% accuracy was to counter the Spider Weaver. so that it would be possible to beat them. That's what makes Apocalypse so nasty to face. Is beatable though, as we've seen, but he has become an arena meta after they've finally reworked him. Never mind the fact that we have this ability block here, giving Safeguard the entire team at this time, healing them up as well, clearing negative effects, quite useful. And when he finally gets his ultimate off, it does a bunch of damage, flips the negative effects, applies trauma, and then he can come back, get some power, and essentially can pretty much almost kill somebody. Of course, his problem is always the focus is so low, even with like a Red Hulk on the team, which it'll always be on a team pretty much with him. So now we're getting into some of the better characters. Of course, Morgan Le Fay. She'd be the third ranked horseman right above Archangel. She has some great use. If you're going against a Doom variant defense, usually you have like a Red Hulk, Apocalypse, Doom, Rogue, Red Hulk. She is key to beating that defense. What you do is you put her on one of the outside. You put Red Hulk right next to her. Then in the middle, you put like probably Apocalypse, because it doesn't matter, because you want Morgan to get the turn meter from Red Hulk. That way you can attack their Doom, knock them below 50%, but it won't matter because Morgan got that turn meter. She immediately goes next. She ability blocks him. Well, guess what? Now Doom's been countered. Just like that. That's how you beat that team. I don't want anybody asking me about it. I already have on how to beat that dumbass team. Stop annoying me. Go watch the video. That's how you beat it. It's all about positioning. After that, it doesn't really matter. You can take out the team pretty easily. Second best horseman, Rogue. Absolutely needs to be controlled if you're facing a Rogue. If you're not facing a Rogue and she's on your side, you get this special off. It's pretty much game over. She's probably the best tank in the game. Once she has taunt, you're not getting by it because she has Safeguard. Absolutely devastating. Can do a ton of damage if given enough time. With her big stun, doing AoE damage. Hits pretty hard. Will usually be double tapping or clearing barrier. An incredibly good horseman character. And of course we come to the best horseman character of them all, Red Hulk. This is the guy we have to worry about. This is the guy we have to control. This is the guy, if he gets his ultimate off, we're probably going to lose. And that's right, because what his ultimate does, it's mostly because of the applying trauma, and the heal block for 2 turns does a ton of damage. When he gets charged, he can now counterattacks, he heals himself. He's just doing a ton of damage. He's giving focus, he's can knock back speed bar, remove revive onces, though we're not seeing this too much anymore. The big thing is to fill the adjacent only for one horseman ally. So generally, whichever horseman ally you want to get that speed bar, you're going to put him right next to Red Hulk. You're going to put Apocalypse on the other side, or Kang on the other side, so that it's guaranteed to go that horseman ally. Apocalypse will always get the speed bar no matter what, no matter where he's at, whether or not. But the horseman needs to be adjacent. If you put 2 horsemen next to Red Hulk, you don't know which one's going to get it. So keep that in mind. Now, as far as defense goes, we have some characters that have popped back up on defense, and that is Dr. Doom. The DD4 reward staying meta, becoming even more meta with a defense now. And it's all because we can manipulate the turn, or we can manipulate where the opponent's Red Hulk will hit, making it so that they have to hit into Doom. Because Red Hulks are so big now, they knock Doom below 50%. He gets filled up because of his passive, and then he does his nice ultimate. Still the best ultimate in the game. He gets 3 turns, and he's going to give somebody else 3 turns as well. That's what makes him so deadly. Is that you're going to give like somebody like a Red Hulk 3 more turns to do whatever he wants. That's a lot of damage, plus you got to take all the damage from Doom, which is still significant. This is still a character you want to build. And if you've been noticing, there's one character I left on here. Defense only, though. But I think you could use him on offense, too, if you want to manipulate a Red Hulk. believe it or not, I'm using Absorbing Man in the arena. Yep. This piece of shit is being used in the arena now by me. Now, if you're going to use Absorbing Man in the arena, he must be big. Very big. He needs to survive Red Hulk. He didn't really start working well until I got him up to like level 87, level 88. And then I brought him up to 89 now. I have a 5/5. I do need to upgrade him some more. I am running Fortifier on him. It's all about the survivability of him. And why, you might ask? Why am I using this? It's because of this. On spawn, he gains taunt. He is the newest pre-taunting tank. And once you see my defense, you'll understand why I'm doing this. When he gets attacked, he copies and clears one positive effect. So there's a case for Skirmisher, but we need him to survive, so we're using that. And plus he gains a defense up, so the more defense ups he gets, because he gains 20% armor and resistance. This is why he needs to be bigger. The bigger he gets, the more armor and resistance he gets, the harder he becomes to kill. He starts off with 31,000 armor right now. If he gets defense up, that's another 50% less damage he's taken on top of this. And thus then he's getting 20% of this. So the bigger he is, the bigger. The bigger, the better. And let me just show you my defense now of why I'm using Absorbing Man, as I've been hanging on to number 1 for quite a few days now. I did get knocked down a couple of times, once to number 3, once to number 4. I attacked, got my number 1 slot back, and well, they don't really have much of a chance. So whatever they're using to actually beat me, it doesn't seem very consistent. They're having a very hard time beating my defense. And it was my old positioning, not my new positioning. I'm trying out the new positioning today. So let's explain this defense to you. This is my defense. Rogue, Red Hulk, Apocalypse, Absorbing Man, and Dr. Doom. Now we have Rogue in here. I'm pretty sure Rogue is the better choice over Morgan Le Fay. I thought about maybe Morgan Le Fay may be a better choice, a little bit quicker. But I think Rogue is the better Horseman. And we have her right next to Red Hulk on this end. What this means is when my Red Hulk goes, it's guaranteed to give this Rogue the speed bar. We have Apocalypse here because I want him to get hit when they have to hit Absorbing Man. Remember, Absorbing Man on spawn is getting taunt. They have no choice but to hit Absorbing Man. That is usually going to be, they're bringing in their Red Hulk to hit it with a special. So when Red Hulk does their special, they're going to hit Apocalypse, which is going to set Apocalypse off, usually stunning their Red Hulk, usually giving himself speed up. That's quite nice. The other thing is I have Dr. Doom over here. I want him hit as well, because usually they're big old Red Hulks that I'm facing. Guess what they're doing? They're knocking him down into 50% range, causing Doom to go off. And you can see what happens. Even if they don't cause Doom to go off, it's enough of a pain in the ass that, but then my Red Hulk's going to go. My Red Hulk's going to have some freedom. The other reason why I think we could eventually see Absorbing Man on offense is if we ever get to a point where we need to control where a Red Hulk hits on or where the defensive Red Hulk hits. That would be one way of controlling him. For Absorbing Man, wherever you want him to hit, perhaps into an Apocalypse of a defense. That's one of the theories in my head. But I haven't really had the need to do that because I'm able to use other teams to beat everything. So it's like, why bother? Those are some of the ideas I have in my head. So if you come all the way to the end of this video, you got to see a defense that might be holding right now. It's been holding for me. Because what a pain in the ass it is. Because of the way I set this up. So let's see if we see some more Absorbing Mans in the arena. If you built them up, congratulations. You might have a defense that holds for a little bit. Until we figure out how to exactly beat it. I do have some ideas of how to beat it, but I don't have anybody running this, so I'm sure they'll be running it after this, though. So until next time, everybody, I hope this video wasn't too rambly. I hope you understood what I was trying to get at of who the top arena characters are. And until next time.